Hey everybody, Greg Pruett here with the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, and I wanted to do a 2022 post-election analysis of what happened in Idaho, what happened in the rest of the United States. And I'd love for you guys to chime in as well and kind of talk about what went wrong, what went right, if either of those are accurate at all, and just get your thoughts on the election overall and what you think that gun owners need to do better than last time, what they did good, and what they can do going forward to make the elections matter the most to gun owners. So first, let's talk about Idaho. Right, we live in Idaho, and we're gonna talk about our state and the election. And I will say that by and large, nothing really happened in Idaho. The redistricting didn't really seem to do much. There are still, I would argue, 3 swing districts, which is the Pocatello area and the Haley/Jerome area, I guess, and then one district in Boise, which is District 15, and then I guess maybe also District 6 up in the Moscow area. But I would argue that's a little bit less of a swing, it seems like, than these other 3. And out, I mean, those were kind of already the swing districts of the state. It didn't really change much other than District 29, which 26, which I would argue was extremely close. I mean, the breakdown there was monumentally close. Like, you're talking about 50.1 to 49 or whatever. I mean, it's just very, very close. And going forward, that will probably be the most contested district in the state. But outside of that, there just wasn't much that happened. I mean, the districts that are Republican seem to have gotten more Republican than the districts that are Democrat seem to have gotten more Democrat. So there's a wide divide in the districts, and it's not even close. In most of the districts in Idaho, you could actually split the Republican vote right down the middle, and the Democrats still can't win. I mean, that's how big the divide is in most of the state's legislative districts. On a national level, or excuse me, on the statewide races or the congressional races, again, Crapo easily won. Russ Fulcher destroyed his opponent by a lot. I think he had 71 or 72% of the vote. Mike Simpson easily won. Brad Little won fairly easily. Raul Labrador, despite rhinos and Democrats teaming up to try and take down Raul Labrador, he won by a very wide margin. I mean, there just wasn't anything really big that happened. I think a lot of people were watching the Ammon Bundy story and how well he was or was not going to do in the election. I think he ended up with somewhere around 17%. I don't know whether you think that that's good or bad. I mean, obviously the people that were voting for him didn't think that was good. But in terms of, honestly, an independent candidate getting 17% in a state like Idaho, it's actually, I think, a pretty good showing. Not what their campaign wanted, obviously, but just the mentality of we have to vote R no matter what is still very deep here in the state of Idaho, no matter how bad that R is, because let's be honest, a lot of Democrats basically run as Republicans, and that's how they get elected, because they can't do it with the D next to their name. And so, overall, there wasn't much that happened in the state of Idaho. The amendment did pass, which was kind of shocking. I actually didn't think it was going to pass. And for the longest time, and we're talking about SJR 102, which will allow the legislature to definitively call themselves back into session, when they're out of session. So session usually runs from beginning of January to the end of March, sometimes into April. And outside of that, the common interpretation from a lot of people was that the governor was the only one that could call them back in, and then it was only on whatever he wanted to do. And after COVID, there was a lot of calls from legislators saying, hey, we can't allow the governor to be the only one to do this, because Governor Little went and spent all the COVID money all on his own, pissed a lot of people off, including a lot of legislators. Even a lot of the rhinos did not like that he was basically spending all the money all by himself when it's them that was supposed to be sending the money. And so that COVID situation really is what pushed SJR 102. Now, IACI, the firm that, or the lobbying group that is lobbies for businesses, they came out, they were trying to destroy it and lying and saying it was going to create a full-time legislature. It's not true. I don't know, and I don't know any of the legislators that are asking for a full-time legislature. They just wanted the ability to call themselves back in under special or unique circumstances, which COVID would have been one. So I don't want a full-time legislature. You know, personally, I did vote for SJR 102 because I don't want one tyrant in the state capitol to be able to control everything without my elected representatives at my local level being able to go in and having to say. Now, most of them are a bunch of, you know, little rhinos, but you know, that's neither here nor there. So overall in Idaho, I would say that just not much really changed, to be honest with you. I think, again, the biggest change may be that the districts got more Republican that were Republican before and more Democrat that were Democrat before, minus District 26, which they put Jerome County inside of that district, and that definitely did change it. And so you ended up with, I think, a Democrat senator, which it already was before, but the vote difference was a couple hundred votes. And then you have one Democrat House member and then one Republican House member. So it kind of divided up there. As a nation, this was a really weird election. I just, and so was the last one, right? Because if you go back to 2020, and you look at a candidate, and Joe Biden, who literally did nothing the entire campaign, he didn't care, he just sat at home, he was boring, he was old and dying, then it's even worse now. And you look at the energy around Donald Trump, historically you look at that and go, okay, and you have an economy that was doing really well, a lot of things were going really well in the country, and you know, some old dead guy got that many votes. Okay. It just, I mean, none of that adds up. Historically speaking, if you compare elections, none of it added up. And so going into 2020, same thing. You've got a POTUS who's extremely unpopular, like really, really low approval rating. And then you add on top of that a really bad economy, right? The economy is not doing well. The deficit, inflation is just outrageous. The insane woke policies that are spreading throughout this country with drag in front of kids and you know, surgeries for minors who want to change their genders. All of that stuff should have added up to a red tsunami. Right. And that's what a lot of people were predicting in the media and the pundits and politicians and everything. I mean, I thought it was going to be a much bigger red tsunami. It hit Florida and then it just died. Like the tsunami was like, hey, we're good. Yeah, we got Florida. We're done. Florida flipped. A whole bunch of counties went red that had never been red before, essentially. You know, so a lot of people thought early in the evening that, hey, this is going really well. And then it just fizzled from there, and then it went south in a hurry. So Republicans did not get control of the Senate. The Democrats still have control of the Senate, which was not predicted, should not have happened. Lots of blame to go around there, I think. And then in the House, it's still going as of the making of this video. It looks like Republicans should get control. Who freaking knows? Governorships, you know, it looked like Arizona was going to kind of really go red this election cycle. And once again, voting in Arizona, and I'm not saying that it is being cheated or not cheated. I'm just saying this is ridiculous. How can we not count this many votes in such a short amount of time? I don't know any other country where it's just this stupid and this chaotic that you're counting votes a week after the freaking election. I mean, this is just absurd. And Arizona is not that big of a state compared to a state like Florida. And so the whole thing is just a giant disaster for Republicans. And so the question is why? And Yeah, sure. I mean, there's going to be people that are like, they're cheating again, and that's what happened. They cheated. And by the way, since this is probably going to get banned on Facebook, be sure to subscribe to our Rumble channel. If you haven't already, subscribe to our Rumble channel for Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. That may be the only place we're going to be able to do videos at some point, so be sure to get on there. So you can't just say it's the voting. Now, Republicans should have fixed all of these issues in these swing states by now, and they've got 2 years to clean it up. 2 years. That's it. I doubt they will, but they should. And so I think everybody's going to have to sit back and go, okay, what do we do right? What do we do wrong? And what are we going to learn from this situation? Did we pick bad candidates? Did gun owners get some bad candidates that just sucked? Was it just the voting issue? Is it, I don't know. I mean, you're really going to have to sit there and figure it out. One discussion I've been having with some friends is this early voting issue. Okay, by and large, Republicans vote very heavily on Election Day. They don't do early voting in nearly the numbers that the Democrats do. And some pundits have been talking about this too. Either conservatives and gun owners, in this particular case, because that's who we're talking about, they either have to embrace the early voting or we have to get rid of it. So in a state like Idaho, maybe you get rid of early voting or you cut it down significantly. But the bottom line is we can't just engage voters for Election Day. We're going to have to get people out and knocking doors and getting people early voting. Like, I don't know of another solution around that particular issue, especially in a state like Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Arizona or whatever, because by then it's too late. Like, if you haven't motivated them to vote by Election Day, then they're not going to vote, right? And so I think the concept is, fine, screw it. You know what? If we can't get rid of early voting, I mean, if it were up to me, we would have one day to vote and that would be it. Okay, absentee ballots would be limited to military members who are deployed and can't be home for the election, or people who are homebound. It would be a very limited amount of people that could do absentee ballots. Everybody else would walk their butt to the election polling station on Election Day and cast their ballot. That would be my preference. Okay. Is that realistic in Idaho? Probably not. Is that realistic in Pennsylvania and all these others? Definitely not. And so I think Republicans, if you're a Republican or whatever party, or you're independent, I think you're really going to have to start just pushing people to early vote. That's it. Like, there's no other solution in my mind. If we can't go back to what it really should be, then whatever your state's early voting situation is in 2024, you're just gonna have to embrace it. Get knocking on doors. Hey, order your ballot and then make your selections. Order your ballot, make your selections. Order your ballot, get it in ASAP. Get it in right now. I hate early voting for a variety of reasons. Number one, I think there's just too much opportunity for shenanigans, and number two, you get stuff like John Fetterman in Pennsylvania, who gets up on stage and because of his stroke, he can't debate at all. This is the guy who's going to be a senator in Pennsylvania, and he can't even talk. And I'm not dogging on him for having a stroke. I mean, he had a stroke. Like, it happens to everybody. But he's in no condition to be a U.S. senator. None whatsoever, at all. And, you could blame that situation on, maybe picking Dr. Oz, who's a giant rhino. Like, he's a terrible rhino. He's a terrible candidate. And for all intents and purposes, it looked like he was just carpetbagging. And so, I mean, there's just so much to learn from this election. The question is, will we learn it? And what things do we need to learn to not let this happen again? I mean, I just can't. It's unfathomable with the terrible economy and a terrible president. The Democrats are just laughing right now going, things are horrible and they still can't win. Like, the Republicans still can't win despite the country just being in shatters. And Republicans got slaughtered. By and large, they got slaughtered. So, I don't know. You guys let me know. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the election, what you think needs to be done differently. That's realistic, okay? Again, if we could say, hey, this is a national holiday and every state is only doing voting on election day, but that's not a thing, right? That's never going to happen. And so I'm not saying you can't work towards that, but by 2024, what needs to be done different? What are we going to have to do different as gun owners to ensure that the Second Amendment is protected heading into the 2024 election? So let us know in the comments what you guys think. Be sure to join up with the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance at joinisa.com. We'd love to see you guys joining up, supporting us for 2023. We got a lot of work to do. We're going to be working on Stand Your Ground. We've got the Supreme Court case, which we were hoping might have taken place in October. We're not really sure when it's going to take place. We've got preemption stuff that we're fighting for, preventing red flag laws the best that we can here in the state of Idaho. All of that and more in 2023, and we'd love to have you guys join up and support us. Join ISAA.com. Take care, and God bless.